We'll just give 30 seconds for everybody, for all the devotees to settle down, please. And then we'll sing some bhajan, little bit. And then we'll do some Krishna Katha. Excuse me. All set? Everybody is fully awake after that ecstatic kirtan from Partha Sarthi Prabhu? Okay, let's do 5 minutes of kirtan. I know it's Sunday and it's cold. And you are probably thinking of snoozing. But just give me your audience for 5 minutes. I'll need that motivation from you. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra Sata Śrīmad His Divine Grace I.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Gaura Nityaya ki, Shri Shri Radha Vallabha ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladeva Suramai ki, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinde ki, Nitya Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 13, text number 10. I hope text is on 10. Yep. So 6, 13, text number 10. Shri Shuka Vacha Evam Sanchodito Viprer Marutvan ahanadripum. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Asasada virshakapim. Shri Shukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Shri Shukha Vacha. It will be nice if you just keep to the meter, yeah? Like just try to keep to the 1 meter, otherwise it will become too convoluted. So just keep to the original. Let's try one more time. Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Mataji? Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada virshakapim. Normally it's the elders, and then the children. Today it's the other way around, but that's fine. No, nobody else wants to go? Any senior Matajis? No? Shri Sukha Vacha. Evam sanchodito vipre. Marutvan ahanadripum. Brahma hatya hate tasmin. Asasada vrishakapim. Shri Shukha Uvacha. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Evam thus sanchoditaha, being encouraged, viprahi, by the Brahmanas, Marutvan, Indra, Ahanat, killed, Ripum, his enemy Vritrasura. Brahma Hatya, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana. Hate was killed. Tasmin, when he, Vritrasura. Asasada, approached. Virshakapim, Indra, who is also named Virshakapi. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki? Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritrasura. And when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, which is Brahmahatya, certainly took shelter of Indra. Let's break it down, yeah? Encouraged by the words of sages. So there is some encouragement from the sages. Why is there encouragement? We will discuss that. Indra killed Vritrasura. So that is the movie that is playing in front of us at the moment. Indra has killed Vritrasura. So remember that. And when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, which is a Brahmahatya, is of course certainly took shelter of Indra. So three things are happening. Indra has been encouraged by the sages to kill Vritrasura, 1. 2, Indra has killed Vritrasura. And 3, of course he is going to get sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana. So three things in one translation. Prabhupada writes. Let's see what Prabhupada explains. Yeah, purport. After killing Vritrasura, Indra could not surpass the Brahmahatya, the sinful reactions for killing a Brahmana. So Prabhupada begins the purport by saying that Vritrasura has been killed. Now who is Vritrasura and why has he been killed? We will discuss that. That's our first agenda item for today's meeting. Yeah, who is Vritrasura and why was he killed? Next part. Formerly he had killed, he is Indra, right? Formerly Indra had killed one Brahmana, Vishwarupa, out of circumstantial anger. So Prabhupada explained that previously Indra had killed another Brahmana who was Vishwarupa. So we will discuss that as our second agenda item. Why did Indra kill another Brahmana previously, which was Vishwarupa? And Prabhupada adds to it that the previous killing, which was of Vishwarupa, was out of circumstantial anger. But this time, who is he killing this time? Vritrasura. So Vishwarupa was out of circumstantial anger. What is circumstantial anger? What is circumstantial action? We will discuss that. That's our third agenda item. Following the advice of the sages, he killed another Brahmana purposefully. So previously he killed circumstantially. This time he killed purposefully. So what is circumstantial action and what is purposeful action? We will discuss that. Prabhupada continues, therefore, the sinful reaction was greater than before. In other words, the sinful reaction for purposeful killing is greater than the sinful reaction for circumstantial killing. Indra could not be relieved from the reaction simply by performing sacrifices for atonement. Third part of the translation was, if you can recall, that the sinful reaction was chasing Indra. And Indra could not get relief from that sinful reaction, even if he was to go ahead and perform atonement. So what is atonement? We will discuss that as well. Further, Prabhupada continues, he had to undergo severe series of sinful reactions. So before the atonement, Indra had to go through sinful reactions. And when he was freed by such suffering, to a certain extent he has suffered the reaction of his action. Then what happens? The Brahmanas allowed him, Indra, to perform a horse sacrifice, which was Ashwamedha Yajna. Now why horse sacrifice? Why was there animal sacrifice during Vedic times? We will discuss that as well. Then Prabhupada continues, the planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. I'll repeat this. See if something strikes to your mind, yeah? What can you recall when you hear this? The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. What comes to mind? Anybody? Offenses. Which offense? Seventh offense. To commit sinful actions on the strength of the holy name is seventh offense to the holy name. So here, Indra had planned some offense previously, and now he has to undergo the suffering. So here this again, third time, yeah? The planned execution of the sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord or undergoing prayaschitta. Prayaschitta is the atonement, and we will discuss that. I said, atonement cannot give relief to anyone, even to Indra or Nahusha. So two parts to that. Why won't atonement give relief? Because if we have done something sinful, it's always good to atone. So why won't this atonement give Indra relief? We will discuss that as well. And Prabhupada said, even to Indra or to Nahusha. Now who is Nahusha? All of us are in the storyline. We will discuss that as well. Nahusha was officiating for Indra while Indra, absent from heaven, was going here and there to gain release from the sinful reactions. Om Agyanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll read the translation one more time. Encouraged by the words of the sages, that's the first part. Indra killed Vritrasura, that's the second part. And when he killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana certainly took shelter of Indra. So he's undergoing sinful reactions. So as we said, when we read Srila Prabhupada's purport, there were so many things that Prabhupada wrote. And some of you will be able to recall some of them. I noted it down, so I'll read it down. We will discuss why Indra killed Vritrasura, who Vritrasura was and why Indra killed him. Then we will discuss who was Vishwarupa and why Indra killed him. Then we will discuss what is circumstantial and what is purposeful action or sinful actions. Third, then we will discuss what is atonement, which is prayaschitta. Then fifth, we will discuss what is animal sacrifice, more so the Aswamedha Yajna. Then we will discuss the seventh offense, which is the planned execution of a sinful action. And then the seventh one is who is Nahusha, if we have time to cover all the 7 items. We will see how many we cover. But certainly today, we have got the 7 wonders of this purport. I've identified 7 things that we will discuss. So let's go. Vishwarupa. Let's start with Vishwarupa. Although the purport starts with Vritrasura, because that's what is happening now in this episode. Vritrasura is killed. But Prabhupada said formally Vishwarupa was killed. So it just makes sense to, little bit, let's go in a chronological order and discuss who was Vishwarupa and why Indra killed him. Most of you know all this, so we will go very quickly into this. Vishwarupa and Vritrasura killing, just so that we can recap and recall our memory, of the events. And then we'll discuss the other bits, especially the atonement. So with the blessings of senior devotees present in the room, I will attempt to speak something on this purport for the day. So, Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa, as we know, is the spiritual master or the former spiritual master of Indra. So once upon a time when Indra was sitting, in his parliament house and his spiritual master Vishwarupa works in, Indra fails out of his utmost pride and ego and being puffed up by his prestige and power and opulence, fails to show proper Vedic etiquette to his spiritual master. He transgresses the laws of Vedic etiquette. When our spiritual master walks in, what do? Dandavats. That's the first thing we do, For that matter, any senior devotee that walks in, we pay our dandavats. Indra failed to do it because he he doesn't need to, but he was just too puffed up, too pride. Pride brings the fall, So Indra failed to do that. Now Vishwarupa just got away from the assembly and he just went and hid himself from Indra. Indra later realized his mistake and was searching for Vishwarupa so that he can perhaps offer his apologies. But Vishwarupa was never to be found. He just kind of disowned Indra completely. And then later on, what happened? Let me just recall. I'll get the order right, so that was, that was Brihaspati. I got it mixed up at the beginning, right? So that was Brihaspati. So Brihaspati was his former spiritual master, whom Indra showed lack of etiquette, and Brihaspati walked away, never to be found again. So when Indra was guruless, When we don't have a spiritual master, it becomes very difficult because there is nobody to direct us. And when we have nobody to direct us, that's when Maya attacks us more. Sense gratification desires just starts bubbling too much in our system because there is no protection in the parampara. So here a similar thing happened to Indra. When Brihaspati disowned him, the demons saw that Indra was little lacking in his power or in his guidance, and they attacked Indra. And Indra lost that battle. So when he lost that battle, he had to find somebody that could guide him. And he was directed by his seniors, I think Brahma from memory, to go and take shelter from Vishwarupa. So this is when Vishwarupa comes in the picture. So Indra takes Vishwarupa as his second spiritual master. But it was on one condition. The condition was that Vishwarupa was also naturally inclined towards the demons because he had some relationship with the demons. At that time, the demons and the demigods were all related, yeah? So he had some inclination, some, affection towards the demons. So Indra was already warned about this. Just be careful that your spiritual master will not be only yours, he will be the demons as well. But once there was a sacrifice going on, and Indra, who had requested his spiritual master, Vishwarupa, to do the sacrifice, so that Vishwarupa is secretly offering oblations that were beneficial to the demons. And when Indra saw this, Indra got absolutely enraged. And out of his utmost anger, he beheaded Vishwarupa. So this is when Indra had killed Vishwarupa. So that you are all together with me on the episode, yeah? When Indra saw that Vishwarupa was secretly offering oblations for the benefit of the demons, Indra beheaded Vishwarupa and killed him. Now this Prabhupada explained as the circumstantial anger. Anger that has not been, or an action that has not been pre-planned. Indra did not premeditate that today I will kill Vishwarupa. That was not the situation. It was kind of a spur of a moment, getting agitated and angered by the situation. And the provoking situation, the force of the power led him to behead Vishwarupa. Now then when Vishwarupa was again beheaded, Indra needed another spiritual master. So this time, Vishwarupa, one of his family members, which was Twasta, from memory, right? Twasta, he got enraged as well, seeing that his family as in Vishwarupa has been killed. So he did a yagya to take revenge from Indra. So out comes from the yagya a personality whose name is Vritra. Vritra means all covering, very big. He was like a mountainous, voluminous personality, touching the sky. So he was covering everything. So the word covering in Sanskrit means Vritra. So he was named as Vritra. And of course he was a demon. So he was named Asura. So Vritrasura means a demoniac person who just covers everything, darkness. So he was Vritrasura. Now Vritrasura has been created to take revenge from Indra for killing Vishwarupa. You with me now or confused? Yeah, you with me? Okay. So Vritrasura has been created to kill or to take revenge at least, or maybe to even kill Indra because he had beheaded Vishwarupa. But this episode, we will go 2-3 minutes into this episode. This episode of Vritrasura and Indra fight is very, very interesting. Because here an Asura, a demon, is fighting with the demigod. Generally speaking, the demigods are supposed to be the virtuous, and the Asuras are supposed to be the vice, the non-virtuous. And Satya me vijayate. The truth always wins over the untruth. But here what is happening, Vritrasura, although externally appearing like a demon, actually internally he has got devotee disposition. So when Indra is fighting with Vritrasura, Indra is gradually and very speedily losing grounds. He is not able to withhold the force of Vritrasura's fight. So on and so forth. So long story short, then at some point in time when Indra is baffled and doesn't know how to continue, he has been wounded, etc., etc. Lord Vishnu, and this is the point I want you to remember, Lord Vishnu, when Indra seeks guidance from his seniors how to deal with the situation, Lord Vishnu tells Indra and the demigods that first of all, I condemn your request because your request is of a material nature. The Lord tolerates our material requests, but he also condemns it. What he's looking for is some spiritual benedictions that we can ask from him. So in any case, Lord benedicts Indra of his material request, and he gives the solution. What is the solution? That you go and ask, what's this personality's name? I'll just recall. Sorry. Krishna, everything is okay? Dadachi. So you go and request Dadachi for his body, make a thunderbolt out of his bone, and that bone force, normally we have got air force, or weapon force or bullet force. So here there is wind force, like that. So here there is bone force. With that force of the bone that you will create the thunderbolt, Vritrasura will not be able to defend it. And I not bless you, but I assure you that you will be successful. So on and so forth. Indra goes and requests Dadachi for his body and etc. etc. There's a lot of discussions there. Indra gets the thunderbolt finally, with which he is now equipped to go and battle with Vritrasura. So when he goes there, Indra of course throws his other almighty weapons that he possesses, such as the other disc and all those things that he has. So the fight goes on. But when the fight goes on, Indra again is losing battle. He's not able to withhold the force of Vritrasura, and he keeps losing, to the point that actually for all practical purpose he is defeated. It's like if you are playing a cricket match and you are pretty much down, it's like 48th over and you are pretty much just defeated. And then somebody comes and hits multiple sixes and wins the match. So this is what is happening to Indra. He has thrown his best of googlis, his best of yokas and whatever, but he's not able to take the wicket of Vritrasura. But what is interesting here, then Vritrasura encourages Indra to continue with the fight. Vritrasura reminds Indra that you have been assured by the Lord that if you throw that thunderbolt to me, you will win. So why are you not throwing that thunderbolt? And when Indra hears these prayers, and the way Vritrasura is reminding and encouraging Indra to fight, Indra is quite sympathetic towards Vritrasura. He is not willing to fight anymore. Normally, on the pages of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we find that Indra time and time again gets into a lot of troubles. Yeah, he generally comes across as a bad person, although he's not a demon. He is the king of the demigods, but a lot of times he gets into a situation that he possibly can avoid. So here we see the other side, the positive side of Indra. He is unwilling to kill Vritrasura, notwithstanding that he has been assured by the Lord, if you throw the thunderbolt, you will win. And on top of that, Vritrasura himself personally is reminding Indra to throw the thunderbolt, and Indra isn't. Why? Because Indra sees that actually Vritrasura is, this is the point, Indra says that Vritrasura is actually more of a devotee than a demon, so much so that actually he sees that Vritrasura is more, he's got more devotional propensities than Indra himself. So he is unwilling to kill. And he remembers and he realizes and he is cognizant that if I kill Vritrasura, I will get the sinful reactions of Brahmana Hatya. And he remembers that I have already killed one Brahmana. Who was that? Vishwarupa. And once beaten, twice shy, we say. Yeah? At least if you have not learned your lesson once, learn it twice. Prabhupada says there is 4 levels of intelligence. At least this is the 2nd level of intelligence. Been through that, at least learn now. So Indra is realizing all this and contemplating and analyzing and introspecting to say, I should not engage in the killing of a Brahmana one more time. I will get sinful reactions. So 2 things have happened. He has been assured by the Lord, he is not willing to fight. He sees the devotee propensity in Vritrasura, he is not willing to fight. Vritrasura encourages Indra to fight and kill him, kill as in kill Vritrasura. Indra is still unwilling to fight. Then what happens? Vritrasura sees that this Indra is not going to fight. So Vritrasura, seeing that Indra was already wounded and he didn't have his chariot and all that, At that time, Vritrasura had stopped the fight because he was not willing to attack on a person that was kind of armless. He was despondent. Indra was feeling despondent, so Vritrasura had stopped all his attacks. But seeing and encouraging Indra to fight again, and he's still not moving on, Vritrasura starts the fight again, resumes, thinking that if now I start the fight, this will, annoy or enrage, or irritate, or there's another better word, maybe enrage. This will enrage Indra, and Indra will resume the fight. Somehow or the other, Vritrasura wants Indra to resume the fight. Why? Because Vritrasura knows that the Lord has assured Indra that he will win. And he knows because the Lord has assured him, and because of some other reasons, we don't have time for that, Vritrasura knows that if he dies today in the battle, Vritrasura is going back to God. He is going back to Narayana. So he wants to speed up his air flight to Vaikuntha Loka. So he is encouraging Indra to fight. So then, long story short, Indra finally throws the thunderbolt. And that, of course, kills Vritrasura. Now, one more thing has happened before Indra finally kills Vritrasura with that thunderbolt from the bone of Dadachi. The other thing that has happened when Indra was reluctant to fight once, twice, thrice, the sages, who are the Brahmanas and all that on Indra's side, encourage him as well to say, you fight. But Indra is refuting to say, if I fight, and I've already killed one Brahmana, why are you encouraging me to fight again? Because if I do fight, then what will happen? I will get Brahma Hatya sinful reactions. So what the sages are saying in refutation to Indra's statement that you will get Brahmana Hatya, two things. That one, don't worry, kill Vritrasura, and we as Brahmanas, we will do yajna, which is called Ashwamedha yajna, which is the atonement, and that will nullify and neutralize all the sinful reactions that you are supposed to be getting. So don't worry. Go ahead and do this, and we will save you from the sinful reactions by the process of atonement, which is prayas chitta. And also the add that we will chant the names of Lord Vishnu in the yajna, and the chanting of the name of Lord Vishnu will of course also nullify your sinful reactions. Okay, so two things. We will do a yajna, which is atonement, and we will also chant the names of Lord Vishnu. That will nullify any sinful reactions that you may supposedly get, not you may, you will get from killing Vritrasura. What do you think of this? I'll just ask for some participation now, so I can sip some water. What do you think of the sages' encouragement to Indra that kill Vritrasura, and we will atone for it by doing some sacrifices? What do you think? What's your view? Nobody? Dead silence? Don't worry if you are right or wrong. Just, yes, bro?
Because everyone was thinking it's a sin to kill Vritrasura.
Yeah.
So it's not right to make sin knowingly. So
Exactly.
how to nullify it? Doing some sacrifice.
Exactly. Now you've been following what I've been saying. Sorry? Yeah. More like the seventh offense, the seventh offense to the holy name, to commit sinful reactions on the strength of the holy name, to commit sinful actions on the strength of the holy name. So here, the sages are planning a sinful action, thinking that the holy name will nullify them, and that is condemned. And let's discuss some more things, and then we'll come to the point. And therein Prabhupada talks about, we have discussed two things for now. We have got 7 agenda items. We have talked about Vishwarupa, we have talked about Vritrasura. And I'll read the translation one more time, because we have reached this juncture now. So hear this carefully now. Encouraged by the words of the sages. What was the encouragement? That you will atone you, and we will chant the holy name, and that will nullify your action. So encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritrasura. With what? With the thunderbolt, yeah? And when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, which is a Brahma Hatya, certainly came to Indra. So he's now getting that sinful reaction. Although the sages had assured him and encouraged him that we will atone for it, despite that, Indra has started getting the sinful reactions immediately. So two questions arises again. Why is he getting sinful reactions, and why the sages have not been able to nullify the reaction through the sacrifice. Another question that arises, which I had said you to remember before, is that the Lord told Indra, if you fight and eventually use the thunderbolt and kill Vritrasura, you will be victorious. Go ahead and fight. And what we are told, that if we follow the instructions of the Lord, it is bhakti. And in bhakti, there is no sinful reactions. Who comes to mind? Arjun. Arjun did not want to fight, and Arjun was of course also premeditating not to fight, exactly what Indra is doing. And the whole of chapter 1 is exactly that, of Bhagavad Gita. Arjun's reluctance to fight. And Krishna uses 17 chapters to encourage Arjuna finally to fight. And Arjun finally comes to his senses in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita to say, I will fight because it's your instruction. Whatever is your will is my command. Whatever you ask, my Lord, I'm happy to do it. And that is bhakti, Prabhupada explains, surrendered to the Lord. So here, when Indra has surrendered to the will of the Lord to fight and kill Vritrasura, then why would he get sinful reactions? That's a fundamental question, right? We will discuss that as well. And if I forget, then remind me. Okay, we are already 30 minutes into this. I've got so much to speak today. So we'll continue. Then let's talk about third thing, the circumstantial versus the purposeful actions. Prabhupada said that circumstantial action versus purposeful action. In the purposeful action, we get a higher degree of reaction. Remember? Compared to the circumstantial. So what is the difference? And this is important for us, and that's probably the most important thing for us today, because a lot of times we also have this question for our own selves. When we do something wrong, or some offense, and some sins, and some wrongdoings, a lot of times, several times we are unsure whether that was intentional or whether that was circumstantial. I did that, I got upset, I got angry with the devotee, I went and did that thing, I did that thing. How do we know which one was what? A lot of times we also do things because of our past samskar, our past memories, our past upbringing, the nature, all those things plays a role in every action that we do. But because we are in Krishna consciousness, we know what is right and what is wrong. But a lot of times we also do things that may not be right, and then we sit back and introspect to say, why did I do this? As devotees, we have learned to introspect to why did we do something, especially if it's a wrongdoing. And then we try to analyze whether it was intentional or unintentional. And to be honest, I think it's pretty hard. It's not black and white. Sometimes there is grades of shades of gray. But to give us some buckets to say what is intentional and what is unintentional, in other words, what is circumstantial and what is not circumstantial, or vis-a-vis what is purposeful, let's draw some analogies. In the circumstantial situation, which is unintentional or accidental, or whatever word you want to use, the situation is of course not premeditated and pre-planned. We are put into a situation, and there is provoking thoughts, provoking desires, provoking words, whatever it may be. And the force of that situation propels and impels us to do something without too much of rationalization and logic thinking and all those things. We are just forced to do it. So it's almost like we don't have a choice, but we did it. Of course, we know always there's a choice, because at the end of the day, we all have our free will to do whatever we want to do. But the presence of the free will is almost overshadowed by the force of the situation, and we did it. Like here, Prabhupada says that Indra killing Vishwarupa was circumstantial. What was the circumstance? Indra had requested Vishwarupa to do the yajna for his benefit, and when he saw that Vishwarupa was secretly offering oblations for the benefit of the demons, he beheaded Vishwarupa. Indra had not pre-planned to kill his spiritual master. It was the force. By no means whatsoever, a circumstantial mistake is justified. By no means. It is still a wrong activity. Keep that in mind, yeah? The circumstantial and the purposeful sinful actions are still sinful actions. However, the reactions, Prabhupada said, is little watered down, in the unintentional mistake. But it's still a mistake at the end of the day. So killing somebody or doing something wrong is always wrong, is always wrong. That's it. Let's throw an analogy to make the point better. A car driver. How many of you are good car drivers? Nobody. None of you are good car drivers? How did you arrive here in the morning? Did you take Uber or something? So they are good car drivers and they are bad car drivers. Yeah? The good car driver does not mean that he will never ever get into an accident. He may, he can. So a good driver drives to get to a destination. His purpose is to get from A to B, and he drives very carefully, follows the limit, all signals and all that, no? all those things. But that does not mean that he is assured of no accidents. Time to time there may be lapses in his concentration, that he is just dozed off for 10 seconds, or he looked back because the baby was crying in the back seat. Something happened. And if that time something crosses the road, or there's a bicycle, or there's a pothole, or there's a dead end, or something, and he gets involved in an accident. Now this is an accident. The word accident is also used for this kind of events. But it is a circumstantial accident. He had not planned to look back at the baby to say, why are you crying at this point in time? And there was a bicycle and a pedestrian on the road, and he rammed into that. He had not planned all that. You get the point? It just happened because the situation just happened to be like that. So that is called circumstantial accident, or unintentional accident, or accident, whatever words you want to use. Yeah. So the reaction to that, even in the modern times, if that was to be taken to the court, his punishment will be less severe. Agree? Because the judge decides that he was not overly negligent in his driving. It's the situation that forced him. Still he gets punished. On the other hand, there are those who are reckless drivers. And because you didn't raise your hand for good drivers, then should I just presume you are all bad drivers? Okay, so for the bad drivers who are reckless drivers, and what do? They go and do the donut, yeah? Is that what it's called? Hoon driving, is that the one? What are some of the words used for them? Hoon driving and donuts by make and whatever those rascals. So those drivers, they are reckless. And when they drive recklessly, they also don't want to get into an accident. The reckless drivers are not driving purposefully to get into an accident. Nobody wants to die, trust me. But what they are looking for is the thrill of the zooming of the car. Yeah? That gives them the pleasure. I have a fancy car with 2 mufflers, lot of sound. Oh my goodness, I can't even stand by them because it's just so noisy, it's deafening. So they'll do all that. So they also, neither the careful driver wants to get into an accident, nor the reckless driver wants to get into an accident. None of them want. So it's almost, the accident is a consequence, a byproduct of the situation. Driver A, the careful driver, is looking to reach the destination. The reckless driver is looking for the thrill of the joy of driving recklessly. But the reactions to both of them are different. So now apply that to us. When we do some wrongdoing, doing some sins or some offenses, all that, is it reckless or is it circumstantial? You can use this barometer. In our cases, if we are doing something wrong and we are premeditating on it, that tomorrow I will watch something obnoxious on the website, or I'm addicted to watching something obnoxious, or that devotee, tomorrow I will just let it go and hail all the abusive words to him because he has irritated me so much. So this is all pre-planning now, premeditating. And in a premeditated wrongdoing, there is definitely injury to our character, no doubt, Our character is injurious in this case because we have done something wrong. But what we plan, and this is the pre-planning, we pre-plan the action, plus we plan in such a way that our reputation is not injured. There is the reputation to character, there is an injury to character, and there is an injury to reputation. So we try to do it in such a way that our image is not tarnished. No, we do it kind of secretly or whatever. So premeditation on the action means that, of course it's not the best thing to do. So our values are diminished, but our image and our reputation, we try to keep it intact. This is pre-planned sinful action. What is the solution to this? The solution is exactly the same thing, premeditation, but in a positive way. So for us, if the desire, let's say, somebody wants to save the net, again back to the same point, of some obnoxious substance, then generally how will he premeditate? His premeditation will be, I will save in such a way that nobody notices it. I'll delete the save history, or I will search, I will browse the website in an incognito way, something like that, incognito mode, something like that. So what is the premeditation now of not doing that action? You put filters on your website, so that those websites are blocked. You save your net in an open room, so that others are also looking at the screen. This is just one example, and you can apply, as is applicable in our own lives of any situation. Premeditate in a way how not to do that activity, rather than premeditating in a way how to do that activity and save our image. You get me? Yeah, clear with me? Yeah, so like that. So this is the guard towards the sinful actions and sinful reactions. So to bring all that together, Prabhupada said that Indra killing Vishwarupa was circumstantial, Indra killing Vritrasura was purposeful. And because this was purposeful, now this is the irony, because although this was purposeful, and although it has been sanctioned by the Lord, the reactions are higher and more severe. So we in our lives at least should avoid the purposeful wrongdoings. Circumstantially, if we have done something, what is the answer? We'll talk about that in a minute. But just bring back to the point that at least purposefully we should not be doing anything wrong. Circumstantially or accidentally or unintentionally, if it happens, then there is some solution to it. Okay? So let's answer that question, because I know you are all waiting for the suspense, to say why Indra got the sinful reaction so severe, although the event had been ordained and sanctioned by the Lord. The answer to that question is, and we'll compare and contrast with Arjun. Arjun fought and killed thousands and millions of people, no reaction at all. We say it's bhakti. Indra killing one person, such a severe reaction, we call it a sinful action, notwithstanding ordained by the Lord. Why? The difference is that Indra's action, when he kills the Kauravas, is 100% purity for the intention only because the Lord has told him. That's it. There is no other consideration. I'm killing this because the Lord has ordained me to kill, and I will do it. This is called full surrender. This is called pure devotion. The Lord wants you to do something. You have absolutely no other consideration, no other ulterior motive, or not even ulterior, no other side motives, only because the Lord has told you to do it. That is called pure devotional service. That is called bhakti. That is the definition of bhakti. If we do that, then there is no sinful reactions. Now apply this to Indra. We know Indra. He is a mixed devotee. He's called Mishra Bhakta. Mishra means mixed here. A mixed devotee wants to save the Lord, but also wants some enjoyment. So there's three categories of people, if you like. The demons, who do not want to save the Lord, want only sense gratification. They are the pure devotees who only want to save the Lord, zero sense gratification. The demigods in between, who are neither demons nor pure devotees, they want to save the Lord, but they also want some sense gratification. They want prestige, they want power, they want opulence of the heavenly kingdoms, and so on. So Indra, coming to the point and coming to the answer, Indra, at the back of his mind, is thinking, I will eventually kill Vritrasura because the Lord has assured me. And when I kill him, I know that I will get the sinful reactions of the Brahma Hatya, of killing a Brahmana, but I also know that eventually I will get the pleasure of heaven, because that is my destination. Vritrasura is thinking, if Indra kills me, I will attain the Lord. Because the Lord has assured me that if you are killed by Indra, I will come to you. So Vritrasura's intention is pure devotion. You get the point? Vritrasura's intention in this fight is pure devotion. He wants to hurry up his journey back to Godhead. Endra's intention is to kill Vritrasura for two motives. One, because it has been ordained by the Lord. Two, to enjoy heavenly kingdom when he is reinstated as the king of the heaven. So because of that intention of material desire, he is getting this reaction of Brahma Hatya. And is running around trying to save himself from the sinful reaction. Are we clear? Yeah? Okay. Now then we go back a little bit. Indra was assured by the sages that if we kill Vritrasura, we will do atonement and that will neutralize the sinful reaction. So do not worry. Now Krishna tells us exactly the similar thing in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva papyavya mokshayasvami mahasucha. So if you surrender unto me, I will make sure that you don't get any reactions to your sins you have done. And just surrender unto me, and that's all you need to do. So here the sages are also saying the same thing. Just follow the action, kill Vritrasura, and we will atone for you. So a couple of things to discuss here. First, let's discuss what is atonement. And Prabhupada says that it is called Prayaschitta. So we'll discuss what is Prayaschitta, atonement. And we will compare and contrast this with Paschyata. Now there are two Sanskrit words which comes out better than English words. In English we will say remorse, remorse, or repentance. Remorse, repentance, guilt, this kind of means the same thing, which is Paschyata. And Prayaschitta is atonement. So what is the difference between Paschyata and Prayaschitta? In other words, what is the difference between feeling repentance or repentant compared to feeling atonement, or not feeling atonement but doing atonement? No? So let's discuss that quickly. Paschyata, or the feeling of guilt or regret, is an internal emotional feeling. That's all. No, when we do something wrong, we feel guilty, we feel remorseful. That is called Paschyata. I'm just feeling like that. There is no action at the moment. I'm just feeling like that. And guilt can be both positive or negative. Let me rephrase. The consequences of guilt can be both positive or negative. A positive consequence of feeling guilty can reform the person just by feeling like that. But also, it can also kill the person, because if we have done something severely wrong, and a lot of times guilt can lead to depression, and it just makes more problem than it solves. So it can be, we have to be very careful of how we have to, if we are feeling guilty about something, and if we are seeing we are reforming, that is good. But if you have done something wrong and if you are feeling guilty and that is dwindling us in bhakti and in material life, that is the time to seek some advice, because that can lead to depression and other severe consequences. So, guilt only and feeling like that can be beneficial, but not the most beneficial. What is more important than that, and that is most important, but let's just talk about more important for now before we talk about most important. What is more important is Prayaschitta. Prayaschitta is the external action. Paschyata is the internal feeling of doing something wrong. Prayaschitta is the external activity of doing something about what we have done wrong. You clear with me? You are with me? Yeah. So here, the sages had said that we will do Prayaschitta, which is atonement. So atonement can be many types. Atonement here, they said, we will do one of the sacrifices. Actually, two things they had said. We will do a sacrifice of Ashwamedha Yagya, that will nullify your reaction. And two, we will also chant the holy names of the Lord, that will nullify your reaction. But both has not worked here, unfortunately. And why it has not worked? The reason being is that it was pre-planned. When we do something wrong, and let's talk about the seventh offense now, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. If we pre-plan to do something wrong, then the Acharyas tell us that you will not be saved from the reaction. But if we have, in other words, if we have purposefully done something wrong and thought that the holy name will save us, then we are in for trouble. But if we have done something wrong circumstantially, that's when the holy name can apply to us. For example, Ajamila. No? Remember Ajamila? He chanted the holy name not thinking that, oh my God, I have done so much wrong in my life. If I chant Narayana's name today, I will be able to nullify all the reactions to that action that I have done. He didn't chant with that motive. And neither he chanted with the motive, Ajamila chanted with the motive to say that I will chant Narayana now and I will be able to do more sinful actions in the future, and I'll keep chanting and it will keep nullifying it. Yeah? Ajamila did not, I'll repeat, Ajamila did not chant thinking that chanting will nullify his reactions. Neither did he thought that if I chant, I can continue to do sinful actions and the holy name will nullify it. He did neither of this. He chanted out of helplessness. He just chanted out of helplessness with a pure mood, and the Lord accepted it as a pure chanting, and he immediately appeared or sent at least the Vishnu Dutas. So here, with the atonement that they had pre-planned, has not worked, because we should not do that in our life. Do not plan to do something wrong, thinking that we are devotees, we are chanting, and Krishna will save us. Krishna may save us, but that's not the intent. So when Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja, surrender unto me and I will give you, assurance and what's the word? I will give you protection from all the sinful reactions. What Krishna means there is not that, couple of things, many things actually, but few things to note. Krishna says that our past sinful actions is not a deterrent from taking on bhakti. We may be unqualified, but we are not disqualified from bhakti. There is a baggage of bad activities in our bank account. Krishna says, don't worry about that. Leave that part to me. So don't wait till you become qualified to do bhakti, then come to me. That's not what the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying, forget what you have done wrong. Leave that part to me. But you just come to me. So our unqualification is not a disqualification. And what Krishna also does not intend there is for us to come to Krishna consciousness thinking that we are Krishna conscious. Now we are devotees. We can do whatever we want to do, anything wrong. That's also not the point. If we do any of those, then we have missed the point. It is, in other words, firstly, past does not matter for bhakti. And with bhakti, it does not mean that in future we can do more sinful activities. Neither is applicable. Krishna is just saying, come to me with pure love. And that's all that is required. So as devotees, we have to be very careful with this. So, paschatap is an internal disposition of feeling remorse. What is the difference between remorse and repentance for that matter? Remorse or feeling guilt. Repentance, let me choose the words carefully. Yeah? If you are only feeling guilt, and continue to do wrong things ever and ever again, then that is more like just guilt and feeling remorse. Repentance, so there's three things: remorse, repentance, and atonement. You with me? This is just that look, as if you are watching a Chinese movie with English subtitle. Okay, 5 more minutes and I'll stop, trust me. There is remorse, there is repentance, and there is atonement. Remorse or guilt is just feeling that I have done something wrong, but I don't want to reform. I'll do it again. These are the reckless drivers. They keep driving recklessly. Or the murderers, or the thieves, or the dacoits and all that. No intention of rectification at all. Whereas repentance is, oh my God, Krishna, why did I do that? I've done something wrong, and I honestly, sincerely, genuinely, wholeheartedly, without any reservations, want to improve. So we have gone from not caring about at all to some care factor. That is the next stage. And atonement, which is the third stage, is actually physically doing something about it now. So what is our atonement? Our Bhagavatam tells us that the best atonement is chanting. Shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master? Anybody else? What is the best atonement for the wrongdoings we have done? Go to the person. What if I have killed him? See, it will not work. Has to be a universal solution. The best atonement Bhagavatam tells is bhakti. Now, bhakti, of course, has got many, many branches. This is what you said. It's all correct, yeah? Do go to that person, go to Krishna, go to the spiritual master, chant, read, study Bhagavatam. So those is atonement. So Krishna says that Sarva dharman parityaja. Again, back to the verse, 18.66. Sarva dharman parityaja, mam dharman parityaja. Forget about all those ashwamedha yagya. Forget about every yagya that you want to do for your atonements. Ma mekam sharanam vraja. Just come to me, surrender unto me. Just do bhakti. So Krishna is saying that now let's bring it all together again. For the past sins that you have done, don't worry about it. That's not a disqualification to bhakti. Start bhakti now. And the bhakti itself is the solution for the past misdeeds we have done. That will nullify it. You get the point? It will nullify it. And in the future, if we stop sinful activities, then the past bank account or the overdraft is gradually reducing. And the point it becomes zero, the past stock, we say in accounting, the inventory. The past inventory is zero, and the new inventory is not coming in, our bank balance is clear. We don't come to Krishna for this motive at all. When we come to Krishna, it's not about nullifying our sinful reactions. We come to Krishna because we want to love Him, that's all. That's His wording for. So if we just come with that motive, then Krishna says, everything else I will take care of, don't worry. But at no point in time it is mentioned that we can come to Him, thinking that we can continue to do sinful actions. Krishna will, as a genuine, as a loving Father, of course, a time to time perhaps overlook or eradicate our lapses, which are circumstantial. And even if it's intended, He may overlook or may give us a token reaction. But if it's repetitive in nature, then the problem with that is our devotional life will not progress. We will deprive ourselves from the ecstasy that is there in devotional service. It will water down our devotional service. We will struggle with our devotional service. Still at that point in time, it's always good to be in bhakti. At any point in time, we should always be connected to Krishna to whatever degree possible. But the more we can connect, the more ecstasy is there for us to relish. But these sinful reactions, these purposeful actions, will lead us to not enjoy Krishna consciousness to the full extent that is there to give us. I'm going to stop here. I will not talk about who Nahusha is, because you can continue listening to Bhagavatam. It will come very soon, in next 10 verses. I think I'll just stop here because it's 10 to 9. Happy to take any questions, comments or corrections. Yes, Mataji.
That means that from this past and Indra, it appears that sometimes one can be doing the service because they become attached to the benefits that come out of being on that position and doing the service from there. I mean, it's not that Indra could not have done any other service, but the reason he wanted to do this service was because he was getting the benefit of living in the heavens and being the king of the heavenly planets. As devotees, how do you think one should be, what consciousness one should have so they can become attached to their position and yet they're able to do the service?
Yeah.
Because when you become attached to the position, then you end up making offenses, and serious offenses, as this one we can see.
Yeah. Good point. No? So, Priti Lakshana Mataji, for the audience, who is on audio, online, virtual audience, Priti Lakshana Mataji has made the point that Indra got attached to his position. In that position, he wanted to serve the Lord as the king of the heaven. And because of that position, he got puffed up and he wants to serve the Lord only in that position, whereas he could have been more equipoised and served the Lord in many other ways that perhaps could have saved him from getting, this reaction again. Yeah, and that is true. Prabhupada is a brilliant example in this case, of how one should be a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada's mood of serving Krishna, let me rephrase. Prabhupada's motive was always to serve Krishna with full intensity, regardless of the service that came his way. So when his spiritual master told him to go to New York to preach to the Westerners, Prabhupada single-handedly went to New York, and Prabhupada did absolutely everything that was required. He was one-person army to do Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada did not think that I'm so attached to Vrindavan and I'm an elderly person, why do I have to go to New York? I can just chant Hare Krishna in Vrindavan and maybe give some Bhagavatam classes and maybe write some books, and that should be enough for me to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada did not think like that. Prabhupada's addiction was Krishna, in whatever way Krishna wanted to save him. So if it meant taking the risk on Jaladuta going to New York, 1 heart attack, 2 heart attack, whatever, Prabhupada was ready to accept it. When we go to another country, we plan so much, especially during COVID days. Are they vaccinated? Have you done your cards? Are you insured for for medical insurance and whatever? So many things we are. What is the COVID rate in that country? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? So many thoughts and little bit of 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees for the last 3 days. We don't want to step out of our house. Prabhupada landed in New York when it's freezing and it's literally snowy and ice on the street. And Prabhupada is coming in his dhoti. We will at least go to Kathmandu and buy some thermal wear, right? Prabhupada didn't even do all that. So Prabhupada did everything that was necessary to be, he was already a pure devotee, but to give us Krishna consciousness. Any service, including cooking, then saving the guests that came, the hippies, cleaning the matchless gift shop, singing, writing, going to the shop, buying the vegetables, walking in the snow, everything, cleaning the toilets, buying the toilet paper, everything Prabhupada did. But we, unfortunately, get addicted to one type of service. I want to make garlands, so I want to make garlands only. I want to save Radha Vallabha by dressing them, so that's the only thing I want to do. And I'm not a sage here. I'm also I'm also a criminal in that respect. Like I like talking. So by default, my service is talking. I like to read Bhagavatam and speak on it. If you ask me to cook for the Lord might be able to eat it, but most of you won't be able to. because I'm a horrible cook. The only thing I know is how to boil water. And that is because there's a thermostat, so it turns itself off. So what we are saying, I think what Mataji's point there is, of course there are some services that is our, the propensity to do that service. We are naturally inclined. That gives us joy. Like talking on Bhagavatam gives me joy, no doubt. And that helps me boost my Krishna consciousness. But if you put me on the street and do Harinam and cook and make garlands, so it's not my cup of tea. But if the situation, if the circumstance, come back to the word circumstance, if the circumstance is such that this is what is required of us, then we should be able to do it. For example, if tomorrow I am told to cut fruits for the Lord, cutting fruit is not rocket science, That much we should be able to do. At that point in time, we should not say that, no, my service is only to speak on Bhagavatam, I cannot cut the fruits. That means that we are attached to this service rather than attached to Krishna. And I think at the back of our mind, and I may be wrong in this statement, but I'll say it again and I'll say it anyway. At the back of our mind, perhaps the reason we are attached to this particular service only is because it also gives us some material kick. It gives us some pride maybe, some adoration or some recognition, something maybe we are looking for. And that's why I'm attached to this particular service as well. So when we are not looking for any material intention out of the service, if it's genuinely just to please the Lord, at that point in time, our mood will be to do any particular service. So as upcoming devotees, keep that in mind. Whatever service our seniors give us, we should be able to do it. That does not mean we should be illogical and unintelligent about it. If we think genuinely we cannot do it, then we just have to speak up to say, I would love to do it, and if you train me up or whatever, but at this point in time, I don't think I'll be able to do it. I'm not trained to do it. Because that is fine. Just blindly also doing anything that is given our way will also not work. In the long time, we'll lose interest in it, and we'll probably just go away. So we have to be, Krishna has given us intelligence, so use the intelligence, work according to the situation, and just talk it out, and we will be all right. Okay, I've got 4 more minutes left. Any more questions? Yes.
Thanks for the class. My question is, I'm just taking 2 points that you said. One is, say if I did something wrong to another person, first thing is go ask a sorry and then practice that.
I didn't say that, but keep going, and I'll correct you. Keep going.
Obviously, the logical thing is to ask him sorry and then practice. You don't get this thing. Similarly, when you talk about Vritasura, who was the demon in nature, right? And Indra is the head of the seven gods. Indra is in a dilemma saying that if I kill him, then I will take the sinful activities. So that's a sin on me. So I have to go to a hellish planet or whatever it is. Whereas if Vritasura but kill, he will go to the god. Why can't Vritasura practice bhakti and go to the godhead instead of making Indra to go to the hellish planet?
Understand. So your question is, that Indra there's many parts of that question, that Indra, could have, so Vritrasura could have just gone back to Godhead directly. Why is he involving Vritrasura in the fight? He could have done bhakti and gone back to Godhead. And the first part of the question was that what was the first part of the question again? Sorry, just in simple words, Indra's part. I got the Vritrasura part, but Indra part? Yeah. 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 Understand. I understand. So there's a couple of things to note here. When Vritrasura is encouraging Indra to fight, it is the fight itself is their bhakti duty. When Arjuna is fighting at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it is not that after the war is over, then Arjuna will start bhakti and go back to Godhead. It's not like that. The fight itself is bhakti. That's exactly what we were discussing regarding Priti Lakshana Mataji's point. That the service can be anything. The fighting itself is bhakti. So Vritrasura fighting with Indra is bhakti because that's what the Lord wants. So he is fully surrendered to the Lord, that I have to fight because that's what the Lord has ordained. Just as Arjuna is fighting wholeheartedly because he is ordained by the Lord. So that is bhakti. So going back to Godhead or not to back to Godhead is the consequence, but Vritrasura is a devotee and is fighting for the pleasure of the Lord. Now Indra on the other hand is fighting as a duty because he is not a pure devotee. He has got a duty to be the king of the heaven. But in, the side effects, I think, the side effects of being the king of the world, king of the heaven, brings that pride and prestige and opulence. For example, if we become we become leaders in our community in certain respect, we are the leaders of the Bhakti Vriksha or we are leaders of the community or something, then that position can bring pride and power and prestige, yeah? But that does not mean that because that position will bring pride, I don't want that position. You see the point? If we think like that position will bring pride, then nobody will take that position. Then that position will be vacuum. But Krishna wants somebody in that position. So pure devotees take up that position and are never proud and do that service. Again, back to Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the king of the world, but he's never proud about it. He's always devoted to Krishna in any service. So taking the position is not the problem. Getting proud out of the position is problem. So Indra coming back to heaven it's his duty as well. So he has to fight because he's a Kshatriya at the end of the day. Right? So Kshatriyas have to fight. If somebody is attacking him, he has to fight. That's his duty. Otherwise he will be called coward. So at that time, when they were fighting, the consequence was irrelevant whether they die or not die, whether they win or lose. The win or loss was not the consideration. The consideration was if you don't fight, you are a Kshatriya, you are a coward, and you are not eligible to be a Kshatriya. It's almost like that, yeah? So fighting is his duty. But had he fought Vritrasura with a pure devotion, then the consequence would have been completely different. No sinful reactions at all. Yeah? Already, we'll park it here. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.